Hey folks, Wally DM here, and today I want to share an editing trick that I learned for podcasts. Now, I am a member of what's called the Game Master Roundtable, and we frequently have discussions about tabletop role playing games. And we have several members. And in fact, this video that I'm editing right now has 7 members on the panel. And as you can imagine, we have a wide array of high and low volume with regards to speakers and their microphones. And so when someone's listening to this, I don't want them to be turning up their volume on their headphones or however they're listening to it to a quieter speaker. And then someone that has a louder microphone comes up next and blasts their ears out. So I'm going to equalize the entire audio file of this video so that most of our speakers are at the same level. Now, the first software that you see here is VSDC. This is a video editing software. It is a free download. And I have my MP4 file. It's already all edited, and I leave this to last. The last thing I have to do is I have to fix the audio. So with that in mind, I'm going to take the audio volume on the video file, and I'm going to turn it all the way down. It's minus 100 decibels, so you're not going to hear the audio that's on this video file. Now, with that in mind, let's go over to my computer. And as you can see here, I have the random charts.mp4. That's the file you just seen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this into another free editing program that you can download called Audacity. Now, Audacity is audio only, but you can drop a video file into Audacity and then tinker with the audio, which is what we're going to do today. So I've already done this and loaded it up. So that file has already been dropped into Audacity, and you can see by the waveforms, this one actually isn't too bad. I've had some that had really big spikes, so this isn't too bad. But as you can see here, especially in the beginning, we have a few speakers that are a lot quieter. And then we seem to have some that are mid-range in the middle. And then we have a couple speakers, I think myself included, that have some really loud microphones. And then of course we bounce back to quieter speakers. So we're a little bit all over the place, and this is what we're going to fix. So let's just take a quick listen here at the beginning. I'll click in here.
I use the dungeon table in the Dungeon Master Guide when I'm desperate. I like the trinket tables. I like all of them, frankly, usually.
Okay, so that's Fred, and Fred's got a quieter microphone. And what we're watching for is at the top of your screen. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving around, but you'll see the decibel level. And we want to watch this. So when we want to pick the quietest section of the audio file and the loudest and take a look. And Fred is hitting on an average between this minus 36 and minus 30 decibels. Let me play it again.
I use the dungeon table in the Dungeon Master Guide when I'm desperate. I like the trinket tables. I like all of them, frankly.
So now that you've seen where Fred's at, let me jump over here. As you can see, this loud spike, and let's see what the decibel level is there. So let me hit play.
Randomness, please. I need something predictable. So anyway, that's me.
I love that answer. And I was actually,
Yeah.
before you gave that answer, I was going to ask you to do. Okay, so that's me. And as you can see, my average decibel level, I'm in like the minus 12. So that's quite a big difference from Fred. So I'm one of the louder microphones that are on here. And then I believe we'll have one more instance. So let me click into this area here.
Yeah, that's the that's the most Gygaxian chart in all of Dungeons and Dragons.
And that's Mr. Welch. And Mr. Welch has a louder microphone as well. And then one more just to show you. Again, we're watching this decibel level here at the top of Audacity.
And it was kind of like that movie Inglourious Bastards, where it's like, does Hans Landa know there are people below the floorboards? It was like,
okay, and that's Flute's loot. So Flutes and Fred are in the minus 36 to minus 30 range, and then Mr. Welch and I are in like the minus 12 range. So let's fix that. So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click and drag, and we're going to highlight this entire audio file. So we need to highlight the entire thing. And then we're going to come over here to Effect, and we're going to go Effect, and then we're going to select Compressor. Now, these are settings that you may have to play around with to get the audio levels that you want, but these are the ones that have worked kind of well for me. So first thing we see is threshold. I've got that at minus 30, but we're going to move that back just a little bit to minus 34. What we're trying to do is we're trying to hit that average the lowest or the average for the lowest speakers. So remembering Fred and Flute Salute, they were both the quieter speakers. So we want to average around them. And they were hitting at about minus 34 decibels. Now, from these settings that I have found online, the noise floor will leave at minus 50. I'm going with an 8-to-1 ratio. Attack and release time, I'm leaving all the way to the left, and I am not selecting those checkboxes. So now I'm going to hit OK. And now what it's going to do is it's going to compress the files, and it's going to make everything in this audio file is going to be one level. But there will be one problem that we need to fix. So as you can see here, it compressed everything. Everything's at one level, but now it's all super quiet. So now we need to take step 2. We still have everything highlighted. We're going to click Effect, and then we're going to click Amplify. Now it's defaulting to 19.981, and that seems a little bit high to me, so I'm just going to drop it down to 15, and our new peak amplitude is going to be approximately minus 5, and that looks fairly good to me. This is just something that you're going to learn with experience as to what levels you want. So let's go ahead and click OK. And now that's going to bring all of our volume levels up. And as you can see here, we've still got pretty much across the board a fairly good balance, or very good mid-range volume. So let's click and test this out. I think Fred was in this area here.
On that thing, every time I cast a spell of level 1 or upward, I don't want to wait for I got to roll like a 20 on the sodding thing to be able to use that. That's like, what's the...
So you can see Fred was talking. Now he's up between the 24 and the 18 level. And let's see if we can find myself. I might have been right in here somewhere. I see still a small spike. So maybe let's try this.
So anyway, that's me.
I love that answer. And I was actually, before you gave that answer, I was going to ask you to do something. So as you can see, Fred and I are now about at the same range. And now we can dip in over in this area.
Reaches out like to see, it was really fun. So because of the memories, we got a place in my heart. And then my wife has actually made some random tables.
So there's Flute Salute, and Flutes is now up in that 18 to 12 area. And I believe Mr. Welch is probably around here somewhere too. Table.
Oh, first edition Dungeon Master's Guide, page 13, parasitic infection chart, 3% chance.
So there you can see all of our levels are about the same. So now this is where I like it. And again, you may want to play around with the amplify. You could probably bring that up a little bit longer. Maybe that minus 19 would have worked for you. But when you get it where you want, you're going to go to File, Export, and then you're going to export it as an MP3. Now, once we've exported our MP3 from Audacity, we're going to come into our video editing software, and we're going to add the audio. There you can see is my MP3. I'm going to add a new layer. In fact, I'm going to move it. I like to have my audio underneath for some reason. So now that you have the MP3 file, again, make sure that your MP4 or your video, the volume is all the way down or off. And then your MP3 file is now in there, and that's going to be your new audio. One more thing I like to check is I like to make sure that the length is the same. You want to make sure that if your video is 25 minutes, that your audio is 25 minutes, that something didn't happen. Otherwise, you're not going to have the lips moving matching up to the speaker. And that's always can be frustrating for those that are watching it. So now let's check it out one more time.
The one that stands out the most for me is the Wild Magic Surge for the Sorcerer. That table is one of my favorites. If it was...
So there's Fred.
Of parasitic infection, then you do the modifiers. Then you go to page 14 to see exactly where the
playable character races have. And then we just rolled out of like 200 different traits.
And there's my book. This is a journal of puzzle encounters. On the very back, I have and there's me, and it sounds like we're all the same level. So that's the tricks that I like to do to balance out my sound levels when I'm uploading either a podcast or some type of a roundtable like this with multiple speakers. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching, and on to the next.